You are not your numbers. So what does that mean? Your business performs, right? It has a certain performance, and the numbers dictate that. So that means if your business has a net operating loss, that does not mean you are a loser, right? So you have to make sure that you are not putting false identities on yourself. Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Chaos to Clarity, Unleash Your Business Potential. I'm your host, Sonja Jones, CEO of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And today we are talking about mental clarity, mindset fundamentals, right? So we're going to talk about taking our mind from chaos to clarity. So we're going to talk a couple about some basic things. I know from some things personally that I've had to deal with, and then also just a couple of experiences from some of my clients, right? And so if I had to pick I'm going back to my school days, the main idea, right, a summary of everything that we're talking about today is you are not your numbers. You are not your numbers. I'm going to say it again. You are not your numbers. So, what does that mean? Your business performs, right? It has a certain performance, and the numbers dictate that. So, that means if your business has a net operating loss, that does not mean you are a loser, right? So you have to make sure that you are not putting false identities on yourself, okay? Because everything has a beginning, right? So all businesses, not just at the beginning stages, but even throughout, you know, the life expectancy of businesses, there are going to be some peaks and some valleys. But that doesn't have anything to do with your identity as a human being. Okay. So I just want to make sure that we talked about that. So just a couple of things that I wanted to discuss regarding mindset. One, what you think about you and how you think about yourself equates to what you think about your business and how you think about your business, right? So that's what I tell my clients a lot. So sometimes with businesses, if we see that, businesses are, most of us are in business, to bring in extra income, right? And especially when I had a full time job, and I'll be honest, I wasn't probably paying attention to the numbers as far as like revenue and stuff. I kept everything separate. But I knew money was coming in, but I wasn't really focused on like income goals and stuff like that. Right. So, with that being said, as long as I had a certain amount in my bank account, then I'll say, okay, I could probably take a certain amount and, do X, Y, and Z with it, pay a bill, or maybe take a portion of it, plan a trip or do something nice for the kids, get them a gift, stuff like that. Right. But then when it came to those valleys in the business, right, I was a cash hoarder. Ain't nobody touching nothing. I wasn't buying nothing. I wasn't spending anything on the business, right? So my mindset changed as far as um, I wasn't expecting any money to come back into the business, right? And you have to consider the fact that, as a business, you have to spend money on the business in order for it to make money, right? So you can't just hoard your cash. Now, we can talk about different strategies about how to purchase things, but that's for another episode. right? But just know that when cash comes in, right, the whole purpose is to recycle that cash, money in, money out, right? So not just be thinking about as money comes in, just take all the money out for your personal use. You have to reinvest, back into your business. So it's those little tiny things, right? That I've personally gone through, and then what I also see with my clients. I think one of the biggest trends, like when we first started working with our clients, and they see a lot of the commingling, yeah, that's when the light bulb comes on, and they start thinking about not just what they purchased, but when they purchased it, right? And a lot of those times it's kind of like retail therapy, or like you're here might be a scenario. I remember this, like one of our clients was talking about, because they spent so much time working in the business, they felt like they were neglecting, their spouse and their kids. So they would take the money, the profits, if you will, from the business, and just, basically pour it, back into the family, which is nothing wrong with that. You just have to do that in moderation based off of, especially like if you got payroll, stuff like that. Mm-mm, right? You just have to do things in moderation, right? So just thinking about, mindset, here are some practical things that I have. I got 5 things that we're going to talk about as you're thinking about mindset. Um, because like I said, we're in business. And I know social media portrays entrepreneurship like as soon as you step out there, money coming out the sky, you driving, automobiles and jet skis and all of that, but it is not like that at all. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart, right? Because you have to literally make sure every day that you have revenue, that you have a plan for money coming into your business, right? So, first thing, to make sure that you start working on your mindset. And I'll say this is a lifelong process, y'all. Because as you go from different levels of your business, it's kind of like peeling of an onion. It's layers after layer after layer, right? So I just want to go ahead and just kill out it. This is not overnight success. You're going to have to do this for the rest of your life, right? Self-awareness. You have to be aware of your triggers, what sets you off. I would even challenge you to get coaching, get counseling, therapy, right? If you have close relationships with your spouse, your kids, if they're kind of, old enough to have that dialogue with you, your close friends, maybe even coworkers, um, kind of do like the relationship audit and ask them, you know, um, kind of how you function in certain circumstances, or if they've noticed any behavior trends with you, or if they notice any triggers, like maybe if you're at work, if there's a certain vendor that sets you off, if it's a certain situation that sets you off, ask them like, well, can you describe to me, a time where mentally I was dysregulated, right? Be courageous to ask those questions and see if there's a trend with that. Because if it's a trend, then you have information that you can take back to your therapist. Um, if you have, community, to see how you can overcome those things, right? And get over those triggers. It might just be you setting some boundaries and not have to be exposed to that person or that situation. If a vendor is making you spaz out like that, you probably don't need to do business with them, right? Because that's affecting um, your relationship with your coworkers, right? Okay, so self awareness, be self aware. That's a courageous step, but I challenge you to do it. Number 2, set clear goals, right? Set clear goals. One of the things that I like to do um, is when I'm going through stuff throughout the year, I have a Google Doc, and I just put, for the next year. So, like if we're starting in this is 2023, I just use current. I have a 2024 planning document, right? So throughout 2023, if there's things that I know I have to nip in the bud for 2024 or focus on adjusting, I put those items in there. Nothing is organized. It's like a big old brain dump. And then around, the fourth quarter, then I start looking at that document. And then I start to organize it based off of, my real goals, right? So if you got, say one of the things I was talking about was my team and just streamlining functions within my team, right? And giving people more things than just their primary job, right? So I have one of my staff accountants that's now kind of like the accounting manager, and she oversees all the staff accountants. And she, in addition to me, will know about all of the client work that's going on, right? And can step in as needed. One of our staff accountants is now managing the accounts receivable. Another staff accountant is also the facilitator for the discovery calls. So those types of things. And then with that, I have to make sure as the CEO that they're set up for success by having proper standard operating procedures and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to get your stuff on paper, or if you want to do, write it out in a journal. Just get it somewhere, and then later on, you can organize it. Okay, so set clear goals. Continuous learning, right? I think Jay-Z said this, but your confidence comes with competence, right? You as an entrepreneur, you must be a lifelong learner. You must be. Although bookkeeping, is our specialty, we are learning more about grants. We are learning more about lending because we want to be that one-stop shop for our clients. We are learning about credit, anything that's going down with the IRS, we're aware of because we want to make our clients aware of things so they can be proactive and get those things done. Okay. So you should always be learning. PDs, conferences, what have you. You should always be learning something, right? Number 4, embrace failures. They're just lessons, y'all. They're just lessons. And truth be told, all of the failures that I had this year, where they end up in my brain dump, in my Google Drive. I mean, the Google Doc, right? So you have to just make sure that you take ownership to say, what did we learn here, right? Another one of my things this year, so I'm talking about my team, like there are some places where I know I did not set them up for success with because I didn't communicate some things properly. How could I fix that? With some good old SOPs, right? So you just have to, take ownership, communicate that with your team. Your team needs to know that you're human, right? My team, I have the best team. They are so supportive and they're willing because I always keep them informed about stuff that's going on. I'm really transparent with them. I tell them what I struggle with, right? Um, because some of my teammates in the places where I might be struggling in some things, they can give me guidance on how they've had similar experiences and how they managed it, right? And even though it might not be the best strategy maybe for me, but I can take nuggets from that and apply it as needed or when necessary, right? So leverage your team, y'all. That's what you hired them for. And then number 5, surround yourself with positivity, y'all, and especially when it comes to friends and family. You are an entrepreneur. And if you got a spouse that's not an entrepreneur or friends and family that are not, they are not going to understand what's going on with you. You got to have community. Please go network and find some other entrepreneurs so you can vent to them and not your family, right? So make sure you do that. Okay, so that's how we start tilling the ground, right, of our mind so we can be ready to gain clarity so we can succeed in our business, right? So, again, this is From Chaos to Clarity, Unleash Your Business Potential. I am Sonja Jones, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace.